Thanks for tuning in to this virtual concert. Glad you can join us. Hope you can join us in person at the next one. And to make sure there is a next one, what you can do is either join my clarinet work on Patreon, or really appreciate if you would contribute on the Eventbrite link that's linked in the description for this video, to make sure that there is another one of these great events for you to join us at. And you can do that now. It's sort of like when you're at a real live concert, everyone claps at the beginning, even though the person hasn't done anything yet. Same thing, hit like, hit subscribe, share with a friend, do all those things. And now I'll stop talking so you can hear me talk a little bit more before I play. Enjoy. About 14 years, last time I was with Obi. So part of my strategy of not printing a program is then I can talk about the pieces, which gives my mouth a chance to rest in between them. So, but again, just want to thank you all for coming. I want to say that as I relaunch my clarinet career here, I feel a little bit like SpaceX, although I've failed at the entire objective, is a complete success. Right? We all having a good time. This, so I'm pretty impressed with myself as a novice impresario, and as a fundraiser, I get the impression that I should probably be getting out of politics. Yes, yeah, I'm off it. That's except for the gaming commission. I'm still a little bit on it. The first piece we're going to play is by Claude Debussy. It's called Petite Piece. If you are on the Eventbrite, you probably are going to hear it's sort of familiar. It's sort of clever, a little bit of paper game. You can see the music, which I'm not going to bore you, turn around, but it's called Small Piece, and then all the writings in this big, huge writing. So it's really kind of clever. But it's short, it's fun, and as far as I'm aware, nobody got hurt in its writing. So, because writing the clarinet's dangerous. I'll tell you that story later. So, yeah, you got to be careful. Already tuned. It was tuned at the factory. What is going on? All right. Debussy, shall we? All right. So the next piece we're going to play, so I guess as I'm transitioning from careers from being a lobbyist to clarinet, going the other way through the revolving door, which, by the way, they really should take the gum out of it. It's just getting stuck. So as I try to like people keep that. So what are there similarities between these things? And there's a lot of similarities between lobbying and playing clarinet professionally. One of the biggest ones that I've just really discovered now is that you're constantly asking people for money. Just great ideas for like I've got all these great ideas for your money. You also have to be an advocate for unpopular causes like French clarinet music, which there's a lot of. And the thing is, like, when you're a clarinet player and you get to play it and you hear this stuff in your kids, you think it's the coolest thing in the world. And then you got to convince other people who don't play the clarinet that they should spend 6 minutes of their life doing this. The next piece I'm going to play is by Philippe Gaubert. It's called Fantasie. It's very French. It's this style of music where it's really just sort of like, you know, airy and nebulous. And then you just want to have the person show off. Like just play a bunch of notes really fast. And if you really, really commit to it, you know, like Alcoholics Anonymous, it totally works. So let's give it a shot. What do you think? Uh-oh. Oh, come on. Oh, this is going to be a big risk because that's a big old chip in there, but let's do it anyway, see what happens. I've got another read if it doesn't work out. You get a break now. Do some solo stuff. You get a break now. Yeah, yeah. One of the other things you have to be an advocate for, not just the classical music in general, but also like your own instrument, right? The clarinet. There's plenty of piano soloists and violin soloists, but not so many clarinet soloists because, like, well, according to Brahms, because a lot of us don't play very well, is the primary reason. But also, it does take an effort to really convince not only yourself, but then from yourself, the audience, that, this instrument itself is really a nice thing. So a few things about the clarinet, its history. So the most important question about the clarinet is, what is a chalumeau? I didn't make that word up, that's a real word. So the chalumeau was an instrument that the clarinet was based on. It was this Turkish instrument that became really popular in France during the Age of Enlightenment, and it only played in the lower register, just down there, because it couldn't go any higher. And then this German guy, Johann Christoph Denner, invented this key, and then all of a sudden it could go, right? So then it becomes a clarinet. This is this new invention. And it's, at the time, a much cheaper alternative, an entry-level way to get into the music scene. Like, if you can't afford an oboe, if you can't afford a recorder, clarinet's for you, right? And clarinet recorders used to be, like, the big deal back in the day. Like, now, like, everybody in 5th grade plays recorder, but before, it was like... the thing about the clarinet, and this is a little bit of a boring story, because of the bore shape of the clarinet's a little strange compared to other instruments. That was, come on, that yes, it was laugh, there you go. It's a boring story. So the bore of the clarinet, and most pipes, right, you have a pipe, you cut it in half, you get an octave, clarinet, a 12th. As a result, it doesn't play in tune in really any key, particularly C major, so you need two of them. A B flat for the flat keys, and A1 for the sharp keys, and ideally you want to have them built together at the same time, because nobody wants to learn how to play the clarinet twice. I know I just did it. It's not that much fun the second time either. And so these clarinets that I'm having this concert for are well, I guess I'll take one quick step back while I'm giving my chops, just one more second rest, and I promise I'm going to play more soon. Back when I was in college, because of good old-fashioned exploitation, clarinets used to be like cheap, like almost recorded cheap, as compared to, like, real instruments like the violin and the cello. So what would happen is you get your wood from Africa somewhere, you ship it on a boat to France, you plug in $2 grand, 5 minutes later, out pops 2 clarinets that are nearly identical to each other, one B flat and A, great. And those last for about 5-6 years, and you got to turn into a lamp. I've got several of those lamps at home. That's what you do because the wood was so, like, garbage and not cured that you got to, like, you get this clarinet and you got to, like, have it, like, it's so this is kind of a little bit of a sob story, like, as in the car manufacturer sob, right? The clarinet's, like, built real cheap and fast, but always broken. So when you can't, like, pull off enough wood to make F and F sharp sound like 2 different notes anymore, which usually takes about 6-7 years, you turn them into lamps. Now times are better. So we hear. There's not so much exploitation of wood anymore. Now, if you want clarinets, you got to get, like, real wood from, like, a real place where they actually have environmental standards. And instead of it taking 5 minutes, it takes 2 years. So when I made this decision to come back to playing 2 years ago, I made a set of trap more. So I was like, well, I should get new instruments because A, I needed them, and as Julie can attest, I definitely needed new instruments for a while. Yeah, see, because people knew about it. And so I put in my deposit for gave this guys in Germany $6 grand for these clarinets, and they're like, well, we'll call you when they're done, which is, like, whenever. Turns out that when they're done was a couple weeks ago, and don't you know it? In the intervening 2 years, I left the rest of the 14 grand I need for these clarinets in all of you guys' pockets. You too, internet people. Well, because, they got money, right? At least one of them does. So, the best way to get me to stop talking about these clarinets is just someone just give me the money. If that person is you, talk to me after the show. Like, don't be bashful even a little bit. But just so you know, if you're listening online, the Eventbrite is going to be open for like another month or so. So if you feel like you just feel so moved by this content tonight, you feel like you need to make another contribution, definitely do so. You can share the link for the video with folks and have like, because your friend's money is way better than yours to pay for these clarinets. Don't you agree? So send it around. It takes a village, and so But again, I really just want to thank you all so much for coming, because if it wasn't for the fact that I was trying to raise money for instruments, like this concert would be a complete success, and I think we're all having a good time, don't you think? Right. Yeah. Thank you. So the next piece I'm going to play is a piece for a solo clarinet. Back to this advocacy for instrument. Like I used to loathe playing pieces for solo clarinet. It's like, who wants to hear just a clarinet? But this piece is kind of fun. So it's by a French composer, another French piece named Louis Cahuzac. It's called Arlequin. So like it's a clown piece, and not the kind of clown that even reasonable people might be a little afraid of, because frankly there's way too much makeup, and why are those shoes so big, right? This is the kind of clown like from the old Italian commedia dell'arte style. So the kind of clown that if you're lucky just stole your wallet. Oh, and I was really glad when you guys clapped in that piece, because that's what's supposed to happen, right? The whole idea of like you wait to the end of the piece and between moments, that was Richard Wagner. Richard, what's the nickname for Richard? If you want to make Richard, so Dick Wagner. Yeah, you see what I did there, right? So his whole idea was, because his music was really long and not particularly good, that he wanted people to sit down and wait to the end, because what was happening a lot of times that people would clap when they heard something good, but more frequently they would boo when they heard something bad. I'm not encouraging you all to do that per se, but certainly feel free to clap or respond. This is live music. There's no fourth wall here. They just made it up in acting school. Like, I can totally see you guys. So yeah, feel free to respond how you want. That's part of live music. And also along those lines, in terms of if you're wanted to take video and post it on your your book face or Gramstro or whatever it is, being performing arts is definitely attention-seeking activity. So as long as you tag me, go for it. Just keep your ringers off. Right. Arlequin by Louis Cahuzac. Sorry. What I really want to do is change this for you, but I don't want to take the time. Let's see if this works. Thank you. Thank you. So I have to switch instruments to play the next piece and tell another long story. It's not boring this time. It's actually pretty intriguing. So a couple years ago, I was on a date, and as one does on a date, I had the wrong opinion about myself. And the question was, she asked me, like, you know, what do I like about living in Boulder? I gave the wrong answer. I'll tell you all, one of the reasons I like living in Boulder is that, say, like, you like going to dive bars. I do that. And you hang out, and you like having intellectual conversations in dive bars. So, there I am, some friends of mine, at the Outback Saloon, minding my own business, talking about the Frey Aber Ensemble Sonata. What am I talking about? So, there's this violinist, Joachim, right? This famous violinist, because always a famous violinist. Never famous violinist, always famous violinist. Famous Joachim. And this is the Romantic period. This is the 1890s, you know, the Victorian era. So everyone's got these, like, you know, these banners. Everyone's, like, really passionate about mostly themselves. And, well, wait till you hear the rest of the story. You're going to see that I'm being very generous. So this violinist, his motto was "Frei aber einsam," free but lonely, because it's tortured soul. So there's the composers, and me and my friends were talking about this. We're having some beers, we're talking about this, and we're going like, yeah. So it was, and the sonata was that was written for him to be played by three composers: Schuman, who's famous, Brahms, who's famous, and some other dude. And we're like, well. And so from behind us, someone's like, Dietrich. It's like, what? Somebody else in this bar knows what we're talking about? So somebody else is, so like, okay, yeah, you come join our conversation, right? So I have to take a step back with this story, which is to talk about another thing about the history of the clarinet. Let me make sure this one works. It works. That was a little bit of the Nielsen Concerto, which is related to this story. Also, a hint, if there's any conductors out there that, like, if you want me to come play the Nielsen Concerto, I am totally available. Like, you know, like, just give me another hour or so, I'll be right there. So, this guy who joins our conversation, because he happens to know the name of this other composer, it's like, oh, blah, blah. Turns out, he's a composer, which that part makes sense. And so, he's like, and I say, oh, cool, I play clarinet. And what he says is like, can I write you a piece? And what I say, because I was not thinking carefully, it was like, sure, that sounds great. So Mozart wrote a clarinet concerto. 2 weeks later, dead. Saint-Saëns, 80 years old, at the ballet, throwing chairs, starting a riot, because he didn't like how the bassoon player was playing in Stravinsky piece, writes clarinet sonata, a couple weeks later, dead. Brahms, stopped composing. Was hanging out at his, like, music camp with his friends in Bavaria. Met this clarinet player, Richard Mühlfeld. Hey, can I write you some music? Sure. Dead. But I wasn't thinking about that because I was at the bar and I was drunk. So I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, sure, this is something nice. I'll write this piece, right? So he writes me, he sends me this piece, right? And then I get the piece, and then I'm looking at the piece like, you know, this is a really nice piece. It would be a great encore for the Nielsen Clarinet Concerto. Can you transcribe it to clarinet? Which he does. So at that point, I know that he's still alive. I'm gonna leave you on that note for now and play the first of the two pieces. That's a little bit of a, so like he definitely was alive for at least the second piece. So that's a little bit of a giveaway. But the two pieces together, one is called Free But Alone. The other is Alone But Free, right? It's just like nice chiaroscuro. It sort of actually pairs well with the Brahms sonatas in that way. That one is they're just taking the same sort of view and looking at it and from different perspectives, right? Because it's nice to be free, but being lonely kind of sucks. But unless the people you're around with, you want it to be alone from them, then you're free. So the first piece is Free But Alone by composer Matt Humphrey, local Boulder composer, which, well, at least we hope so. It's still looking for this. It's not that funny, guys. Like, it's bad curse. Like. And that was the right response too, right? It's kind of contemplated, right? Like I really, that's great. So so the story continues. A few weeks later, I'm minding my own business, not at a dive bar, and I get an email from Matt. Hey, I've been thinking about that thematic material, and I wrote a slightly longer piece, you know, and this is the other, the Alone but Free, right? It just it expanded on those ideas a little bit. And I'm thinking, man, this is great because the next time I get invited to some place to go play the Nielsen Concerto, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a whole recital, sell tickets for the concert, to the orchestra concert at that recital, play both these pieces. And I'm just saying this just in case some conductor wants to know if they can hire someone to play the Nielsen Concerto who is going to market their concert. So I'm the guy for that. So. Yeah, no, I'm totally available for these things. So, so this is you'll see that there's some similar thematic materials in there, yeah. So at least at this point, well, I guess I should say, so I got both these pieces. I recorded both these pieces. I sent them to him. I was like, hey, can I like at least buy you a beer or something like that? It's 2 years ago, so yeah. Well, I mean, wrote 2 pieces for clarinet. So, I don't know, let me see. Alone but Free by Matt Humphrey. He's right there, the composer. Matt, stand up. Only in Boulder can you expand the repertoire for clarinet and a dive bar, so this is a great town that we have. And again, thank you for these two beautiful pieces. Yeah. So, two more pieces left. Continuing with the Freie Opera Ensemble theme, the next one is by Schumann. These fantasy pieces. Don't worry, Schumann's fine. He only threw himself off a bridge. Nothing to do with the clarinet, having to do probably Brahms, his protege, and the relationship with his wife. But anyway, allegedly. No, that's okay. But anyway, this piece, again, Schumann was fine writing because it's actually not even originally for clarinet. It's originally for string instruments. But it's such a great piece, and we clarinet players have so few great pieces that often we need to steal. So this piece is in 3 movements. It's a German work, right? So now we're gonna go to the other side of the Alsace. You will be able to hear the big difference between French music and German music, and I always think about music that it's in its time, in its language, right? So like the whole idea of this whole thing being classical music, that's also already ridiculous. None of it was written in ancient Rome, right? But this music is, what it is German, basically like, pop music from like, the 1890s. This is what you would go to someone's house and you would, drink coffee and beer and eat food and talk about how important you are and how important everything is, and or how sad you are and how sad everything is. And then you hear, people play these great pieces. So this is the Schuman Fantasiestucke. You know what? I need to change this reed. I banged this reed on that music stand 2 pieces ago, and I was like, yeah, it's probably gonna make it, but I think that's not really true. Oh, I feel great.
Well, I just want to say, as Sean's partner on the stage, that he really appreciates all of you being here. He's very excited to be here. I've never seen him practice so much in all my
Ever.
life.
Never seen him practice ever.
I've known Sean for 20 years, and I think he's practiced more in those past 3 weeks than he has cumulatively over the time that I've known him.
So Opie's a snitch. But I will. I will say. I will say that very important to me clarinet teacher when I was in high school, who I ended up playing a really fun gig with in Rhode Island some years when I was in college, and she was telling me how her name is Jean Copper, telling me how she during her career she took a year off, right? She's like, I had to practice for 6 months to get back in shape, and so that was a lot of my mind when I decided to get back to playing, because it took you 6 months to get back into shape after 1 year, how long did it take after 14? 2 years is how long it takes. Yeah, not bad. Wrong one. E. Thanks. Yeah, so on a clarinet, E is the equivalent of, I think, 14. That's how you do that transposition. That's a music joke, because I went from... Yeah, but everyone's laughing, that's all that matters. welcome back. Jenna. Hey, everybody, this is Jenna who made us dinner tonight. So Jenna and I have been talking about trying to have more of these chamber music scams. I mean, dinner parties. So hopefully you guys can join us for more of those. And also Jenna has her own chefing business, so if you want to enjoy her food without hearing me talk, you can talk to her directly about that. But certainly we'll let you know. We're going to do more of these because it's a lot of fun to work with her. So, and again, thank you so much for... Switch clarinets for the last piece. Brahms is second to last piece. Yeah, second to last piece. Like myself, right? Because now I've got like 2 pieces written for me, so I'm doing my part for the clarinet repertoire. Most of the good music for clarinet was written for a clarinetist in particular, because that particular composer knew that player they're playing, and probably didn't know the risks. So Brahms had retired from composing. He, just like I had retired, just like I'm retired from politics, but yet I'm on the gaming commission. Like, you just keep getting sucked back in somehow. So there Brahms was at basically what you would call the music camp, which gives you an opportunity. If anybody knows any middle school students who are talented clarinet players who want to come take lessons with me this summer in August, I've got openings in my studio at Kennyman's. It's a great opportunity, so definitely spread that around for middle school clarinet players. But anyway, they're a special place. They're Kennyman. They're music camp. Brahms is there, and there is this clarinet player, Richard Muehlfeld, who, like I said, as I said earlier, Brahms was said many times about clarinet players that they're so boring. You know, they don't have any spirit in their playing. And then he heard this guy, Richard Muehlfeld, play, and he was like, oh my God, this guy's like telling stories with this music, and Brahms didn't even believe in stories. So he just decides to write these great pieces of chamber music, some of the best music written, period, let alone for the clarinet. 2 sonatas, one of which we're going to play tonight, a trio for clarinet, cello, and piano, as well as a quintet for clarinet and string quartet. In case somebody has a string quartet and wants to invite me, I'm available for that also. Well, just because you never know what people didn't realize they wanted until you told them, right? So you just got to like really get it out there. Like for example, you all didn't know that you loved the Brahms F minor clarinet sonata as much, but you are about to find out. That is absolutely one of your favorite pieces of music ever written. 4-movement work. Just like Matt's pieces, there's a little bit of chiaroscuro. This is definitely the oscuro one. This is a pretty dark piece, although it ends pretty triumphantly. And not unlike the Schumann, which you just heard, because Brahms studied with Schumann and his wife. Piano study, right? It was a different time back then. It was Victorian era. It was this different time then. Just like now. Hello, Mrs. Robinson. So anyway, yeah. If it wasn't so tragic, it'd be one of the great love stories of all time. So anyway, Brahms. This is the F minor sonata. It's 4-movement work. And like the Schumann, it's sort of that same sort of German song style. Designed to be heard in your salon and your drawing room, what have you. And there was another point I was going to make about this piece. Oh, that's what it was. Also, like the Schumann, Brahms tends to give away some, so if you say, hey, there's some thematic tale that came back, that's exactly what's going on. So you're doing a good job. All right, shall we do it? Should I probably tune this clarinet because I had to switch clarinets? This one's the F one. Thanks. Just definitely built by Saab. It's great. sorry, I'm taking that opportunity to clear some water out of the keys. So you blow cold air out of your body into a warm instrument, and then you get condensation. Not spit, condensation. With some spit, probably. I would lie and say that my new clarinets don't have that problem, but that's probably not true. But let's just pretend that it is. Don't you want me to have them now? Save you so much time. Thank you. I don't have an encore because, it's come back, so. But thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate you spending this evening with me, and hope you enjoyed it too. Yeah.